Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya yato anvayaditaratascha artheshu abhignaswarat Tene Brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayah Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatratra sargo mrisha Dhamna swena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam shukamukad amritadrava sanyutam Pibata Bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. So now we enter the sixth chapter of the sixth Skandha of Srimad Bhagavatam. We saw how Daksha's plans were foiled by Narada when his sons, who were begotten in order to further creation, were in turn turned into mendicants and realized the self and thereby never came back. So now Daksha was pacified after he cursed Narada, which we saw, and then he now begot through his wife, it is said, 60 daughters. So he's been given this holy task of furthering creation. So he is completely persistent in this matter because that is the service he is meant to offer. So now he is having 60 daughters and with his wife Asikni, and then all these daughters, then he now marries off to various sages and various divine beings in order to further creation, some to the sage Kashyapa, some to the embodiment of Dharma, some to the embodiment of moon, and so on. And thereby they procreate, and thereby the creation is multiplied as he was ordained to do. So then Bhagavatam in this chapter lists in detail the various wives these sons, that is, the various children had by the wives of these beings through Kashyapa, Dharma, Soma, and so on. So many great beings are mentioned here. We will just go through some of the important names. There are names given for various beings such as Vidyota and Swarga and Vishwe Devas and Sadhyas. These are all various types of classes of beings. And then similarly the Maruts and the aspect of Muhurtas, and then importantly the 8 Vasus who are considered very special divine beings, 8 Vasus. And then there is the Rudras, which are 11 Rudras. There is 11 forms of Rudras, which are all part manifestations of Shiva, which come from this set of created beings. And then there is Vinata, who in turn gives birth to Garuda, the divine eagle, who's the vehicle of Sri Narayana. And then the wives of Kashyapa, including Aditi, Diti, and so on. And then through divine arrangement, various species are brought forth, such as the bovine race, the birds, the beastly animals, the vegetables, and then the celestial musicians, the various types of demoniac people and saintly people, the various domestic animals, all the rest were brought forth. And then finally, it also lists the Adityas, the 12 Adityas, who are all part manifestations of the Supreme Lord. Their names are given, and these 12 Adityas are all very well known in Vedic scriptures. They are mentioned in many places. So their names are Vivaswan, Aryama, Pusha, Twashta, Savita, Bhaga, Dhata, Vidhata, Varuna, Mitra, Shakra, and Trivikrama. So Shakra is another name for Indra, and then Trivikrama is another name for Upendra or Vamana, which is an avatar, special avatar, which we will see in much detail later. So Vivaswan is especially the first Aditya, gives birth to the first Manu, and that's why the Manvantara is called Vaivasvata Manvantara. And then there is Ashwini Kumars, who are celestial musicians who come forth. And then there is a girl called Rachana, who is the younger sister of the Daityas. Actually, the Daityas are the demoniac people, who gives birth to a powerful being called Vishwarupa, who is very special and whose story will come now. So, in this chapter, the sixth chapter is a long enumeration of the various types of progeny. So, Daksha had 60 daughters, and these 60 daughters, as we saw, were given to various sages and saintly beings and other types of beings. And from them and through divine arrangement, various types of not only human beings but divine celestial beings as well as animals and all species, it is said, were brought forth again, because it is the beginning of the Manvantara, and therefore the whole population was as it is again brought forth. And we end with the birth of Vishwarupa. So Vishwarupa is a saintly being who is born to the daughter or the sister of the demoniac people. So he is a very interesting being because his name is Vishwarupa. He is a saintly being, and his mother is Rachana. But Rachana is a sister of the demoniac people. So with this chapter, this relatively short chapter concludes, and then we move to the seventh chapter of the sixth Skandha. Here, so one of the thing that the previous chapter ends with is that Vishwarupa we saw, this son of Rachana, and therefore he is the nephew of the demoniac Daityas. He is actually made into the guru or the teacher of the Devatas, of the divine beings, is what Shuka Brahma Rishi mentions, because Brhaspati was insulted. So Brhaspati is the guru of the Devatas in general, and that's why Thursday is called as Guru War or Brhaspati War, because Brhaspati is said to mark the planet Jupiter, and he is always considered the guru of the Devatas. But Shuka Brahma Rishi says that when Brihaspati was insulted by the Devatas and he left them, the Devatas took Vishwarupa as their guru. So Parikshit wants to know the story. That's how 7th chapter begins. He says, why did Brihaspati get insulted, and what was the reason, what was the transgression that caused instead Vishwarupa to become the guru? So Shuka Brahma Rishi says, Indra, who's the lord of the Devatas, was once full of arrogance. So one thing we have to recognize here is all this as a symbolic element. The Devatas represent the good thoughts, as it were, and the Daityas or the Rakshasas represent the bad thoughts. And the important thing is one can have arrogance out of having the mode of goodness. So we see in this world too many people who engage in charity and in good causes for protecting the forests or various other good causes, but in turn they actually fall for arrogance and pride because of the praise they get and the glorification they receive from people. And therefore, being good without being surrendered has its own pitfalls, and that is what Indra represents. Indra is the lord of Devatas, which is to say, the mode of goodness, and the Rakshasas are in the mode of ignorance. And the interesting thing is, one who is in the mode of ignorance too, suddenly, if he surrenders completely, he can get over and he can be fully liberated. So that's why we see some stories of Rakshasas becoming great devotees. We'll see one such great example going forward. And we similarly see Indra being prey to pride and arrogance, because being good can keep one bonded in golden chains, as it were. So Indra here, it is said, was in his court and he was full of arrogance and pride, and he was surrounded by all celestial beings like Maruts and Vasus. We saw all these beings listed in the previous chapter, such as the Maruts, the Vasus, the Rudras, the Adityas, the Vishvedevas, the Sadhyas, the Ashwini Kumaras, all these celestial beings. And then he was glorified by the Gandharvas, the Siddhas, and so on. So basically, what it means is he is fully puffed up with pride. He is decorated. He's got a white royal umbrella over him, which is looking like the moon. He is surrounded by servants who are blowing the fans, and he's sitting with his wife Shachi. So he is full of pride. So this again symbolizes how in this world we see people who are, though in the mode of goodness, though they may engage in charitable causes, They are actually puffed up with arrogance and pride because of that. That's what Indra represents here. So when Indra was sitting like this, their chief guru Brhaspati came into this sabha, into this royal court, and Indra did not even bother getting up. So Indra, because of his pride, forgot his position as the student of the guru, and he did not bother getting up, did not receive him, did not honor him at all. He just simply sat arrogantly as the great sage Brihaspati entered the court. So, seeing this, Brihaspati silently went back. He is a realized being, so he was not offended. He just found this that this is all part of the destiny of Indra. So he simply recognized this, and then he went back. He had all the power to do whatever he wanted there. He could have corrected his disciple, chastised him, but he simply instead chose to go back. As soon as he left, Indra recognized his folly. So he just took that instant for him to recognize what he had done, but it was too late already because his guru preceptor had left. So now he started regretting, reproaching himself in the court. He said, "Oh, my conduct has been so deplorable. I've acted so unrighteously. What kind of a person will covet the fortune of even paradise if he ignores his own guru? And I've done that by being caught in egotism, and therefore I did not know the right sense of morality, the right way to receive any guest, and especially one who is one's own guru, one who is worthy of all respect. And therefore I have surely sunk like one embarking on a ship made of rock." That's the way he says it. Just as a ship made of rock would simply sink, that's how I have sunk. And I need to now go back and somehow win his favor back and apologize. So, with this intent, he leaves instantly. But Brihaspati has made himself unavailable. He knows what is going on, and he, in order to teach him a lesson, he simply disappeared by his yogic power, Brihaspati. So, Indra looked for him everywhere to apologize. He couldn't find him, and he had no peace of mind, and therefore he was completely disturbed. And meanwhile, it is said the Rakshasas, that is the demons, got wind of this. They got wind of the fact that Indra has fallen down. He is completely disturbed. He disrespected his guru, and he is not able to apologize to his guru, and therefore he is totally in a state of disturbance and unrest. And so the Rakshasas, that is the demoniac people, thought this is the right time to launch a war against the Devatas. So, again, this is very symbolic, as we can see. When the good thoughts are weakened because of pride, immediately one is assaulted by the evil thoughts, and that's what this represents. So, one has this constant war waging between good thoughts and evil thoughts, which is what is the constant allusion to the battle between the Devas and the Asuras, or the demigods and the demoniac people, which is constantly referred to in Bhagavatam, and it is also in other scriptures. So, this is essentially the symbolization of the battle between good and evil thoughts in one's own mind. So, here, what this whole story symbolizes is that Indra, who symbolizes the head of all the good thoughts, can fall to pride, fall due to arrogance, and because of that, the very good thoughts themselves have become the source of his disturbance and his anxiety. And when one is disturbed and anxious, then that space is instantly invaded by evil thoughts such as anger and fear and envy and all the rest. This is what one sees, and that's exactly what is symbolized by this, that when Indra was disturbed, immediately the asuras, the demoniac people, decided this is the right time to attack Indra, and therefore they launch an attack on him, and they attack very ruthlessly, it is said, and the demigods are all completely defeated, and they are running for cover. So again, all this we have to read the symbolism, how the evil thoughts take power when the good thoughts, when one is lost in good thoughts, and due to the pride of having good thoughts, one falls down, and then invaded by evil thoughts. So this is how we see in many cases in this world how people who do many good activities and then they suddenly fall into great depression and they take into substance abuse and they take into various things. This is exactly what this symbolizes, that even if one is engaging in good activities, if one is not alert to the rising of the pride and arrogance because of that, and one thinks I am the doer of these activities and falls for that sense of doership, then he is prone to fall prey to evil thoughts invading him, and the same person then falls into depression or anger or violence or envy. So this is exactly what all this symbolizes, that the devatas, the demigods, were now defeated completely. They were on their feet, they were running for cover, and they all go to Brahma, it is said, and they complain to Brahma that, see, we are afflicted on all sides, you have to help us now. And Brahma, moved with supreme compassion, tells them that, oh, it is so sad what has happened to you, because Brahma is the teacher, and so he points out to them the mistake they did, which they are aware of already by now, that you did not welcome your guru. And he is not an ordinary guru. Brhaspati is one who has realized the self. He is one with pure Brahman. It says Brahmanishtam Brahmanam. That's the name for him. So he is Brahmanishtam. He is constantly abiding in Brahman. And such a being you have insulted, and it's the fruit of that misbehavior that you are suffering defeat at the hands of the demons and you have become weak. So again, this shows how if one is not, Brhaspati here represents pure Brahman, pure being, which is the supreme state. And if the good thoughts that are there, if they are not surrendered unto the supreme being, then they become enemy in their own way. So the very good thoughts that are meant to protect us become our enemy when they are not surrendered to the supreme being, to the supreme state of truth. And that's what is here symbolized by Indra not bowing down to Brhaspati. And because of that, Indra falling down and defeated by the demons. So Brahma addresses and says, "O Indra, look at your enemies. They are now very organized, they are completely focused, and they are listening." So they have this guru Shukracharya is considered the guru of the demons, just as Brihaspati is the guru of the devatas. And so Shukracharya is someone who guides these demons to engage in all kinds of activities, just as we see people who are demoniac have their own teacher who guides them in whatever way to optimize their demoniac pleasures and so on. So Shukracharya is guiding them, they are listening to Shukracharya, and they are very organized, whereas you did not listen to your own guru, who is Brihaspati himself, and because of that you are getting defeated completely. So now there is only one way out, Brahma says, because Brihaspati is not to be found. So Brahma says, go to Vishwarupa. So that's how the story goes back to him. We saw Vishwarupa born to Rachana, who is a sister of the demoniac people, but Vishwarupa himself is a sagely being. So Brahma says, go to Vishwarupa and he will be the one who can protect you. He is one committed to austerities. He is fully self-regulated. He is fully saintly. So treat him with respect and he will take care of you. So having heard this, the devatas all offer obeisances to Brahma and they happily go to Vishwarupa now that they have found the answer. And all the devatas tell him, "O great Vishwarupa, we have come to your ashram, your hermitage, as unexpected visitors, but you know very well that it is the right duty of the saintly people to take care of anyone who comes to them." And then they just give them a nice instruction which is for everyone. He says, they say that serving those who are senior, first of all, these devatas are senior to Vishwarupa, because Vishwarupa, as we saw, is born to Rachana, and therefore this Vishwarupa is younger in age to both the devatas and the demons. And so the devatas say, we are like your parents' age, and therefore it is the duty of the sons to respect the parents, and it is the duty of the student to respect the teacher. So they give some examples of how Guru is the embodiment of Brahman itself. Father is the embodiment of the creator Brahma. A brother is the embodiment of Indra. A mother is the embodiment of earth. A sister is the embodiment of compassion or mercy. And similarly, they say, all these examples they give, and they say, similarly, an unexpected visitor, it's called Atithi, an unexpected visitor is an embodiment of virtue itself. So, this is why in Bharat it is always said that Atithi is like Bhagavan himself. Atithi Devo Bhava, it is said. And the word Atithi literally means one who comes without informing. So, Tithi means date in Sanskrit. And Atithi literally means no date. That's the name. So every word in Sanskrit has the very meaning within the word. So the unexpected visitor is one who did not inform the date when he is going to come. And therefore he is Atithi. He has no date. He can come anytime. And anyone who shows up at our door without informing, without telling us the date prior, it is our duty to welcome him and give him the highest respect and treat him like God himself has come to our door. So, this is the Vedic culture, which is very different from what's prevailing today, where one has to inform well ahead of time and make a plan and only then go, and otherwise it's considered offensive and so on. But the Vedic culture is that one who goes without informing and shows up at the door is to be treated with all respect as God Himself visiting. And this culture is prevalent even today in the villages and in the smaller towns of Bharat. And that is exactly how Atithi should be treated. So that's what the Devatas say, we are Atithi because we have come here without informing you. But you know well that Atithi, or the one who has come without informing, is an embodiment of virtue. Just as all these examples we saw, they gave all these other examples, just as Father is an embodiment of Brahma and Guru is an embodiment of truth. And they also say all living beings are an embodiment of the pure self. They say Sarva Bhutani Atmanaha Murtihi. So all living beings are an embodiment of pure self. And they said Mother is an embodiment of earth. Father is an embodiment of creator. And similarly, they say we unexpected visitors, Atithis, are embodiment of dharma. Therefore, it is your duty to protect us. We have come here to ask your services. We have been sent by Brahma himself. And we know that you are purely established in truth, in Brahman, and you are worthy of adoration. So we have come to you as our Guru so that we can regain our spiritual glory. We can re-establish our supremacy over the demons. So this is what they tell Vishwarupa. And listening to this, Vishwarupa speaks in very soft words. He says, so essentially what they are asking is to be the priest of the Devatas, priest of the um, demigods, that is. So Vishwarupa says, I am here very happy, being peaceful in my own way. So being a priest is definitely not normally welcome. So he actually, in this, gives a beautiful discourse on how being a priest is not an ideal position for a Brahmana or for a learned person. So he says, priesthood has been condemned because it makes one lose spiritual glory. So, this is what we see. Priests in every religion tend to be the middlemen between man and God, and thereby they only do business there. They only use that position to have power and authority and make money, while being a veil actually for men from realizing the truth which is right within their hearts. So, priests are not a very respectable position from a spiritual perspective, even though it is very respectable from a religious perspective. And that's why Vishwarupa says priesthood has been condemned. Bhagavatam says priesthood is condemned, even though traditional religions always put priests at a pedestal. Bhagavatam says priesthood has been condemned because it involves loss of spiritual glory. And yet, I cannot turn down the request of you because you are all guardians of nature. You are all the devatas, the demigods, and you are also senior to me, and therefore my dharma is to be obedient to you. And therefore, even though I am very happy here, living a very peaceful life, because he is very poor, he is living in an ashram, he says he is living on simply some grains that are left over or whatever people donate to him, and he is engaged in very contented, simple life, and now he is being asked to become the priest of the demigods, which means he is going to have to leave all this, go live in an opulent palace, and be the preceptor of all the devatas. So his whole life will change. So he says, normally, the vocation of a priest is something which only a fool will want. He says very powerfully, only fools go for this priesthood vocation, because, as we saw, priesthood involves a fall in spiritual glory. And yet, I have no choice, because you have all come here, you are my elders, and you also have requested me, and Brahma has sent you, and therefore it is my duty to accept it. So I shall accomplish what you have sought. And thereby he accepts being their guru. So, having thus promised them, Vishwarupa takes on the role of the priest with supreme diligence, and he teaches right away Indra a beautiful prayer called Narayana Kavacha. This is a prayer again addressed to the supreme being Narayana, and it is called Narayana Kavacha. Kavacha means that which protects one. So, invoking the protection of the supreme being Narayana is Narayana Kavacha. So, he teaches this Narayana Kavacha, and thereby he was able to help the devatas defeat the demons, and thereby restore Indra back to being the lord of the heavenly paradise. So, this is what is the story of how Vishwarupa became the guru. And with this prayer, with this Narayana Kavacha, thus Vishwarupa was able to restore the mighty Indra by conquering all the demons back to the position of the Lord of the heavenly kingdom. So, this Narayana Kavacha is a very beautiful prayer, and this prayer will be given in full in the next chapter. But for now, we see the story with great symbolism again of the constant fight between good and evil thoughts, represented by the fight between the Devatas and the Asuras, and how, because of that, Brhaspati was insulted, and now Vishwarupa has come in his position, and he is related to the demons, as we saw, and yet he is taking the responsibility of defeating the very same demons and helping the demigods, and he teaches Narayana Kavacha to restore the demigods back to their position. With this chapter ends. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.